Well, it's going to be a busy day as we talk about everything that happened over the weekend and is happening right now as the United States is intercepting Iranian missiles. That's the story right now. Intercepting Iranian missiles over Qatar, however you want to say it. And what we're hearing is that basically we knew that Iran was going to hit back. This is kind of a fugazi hit back in the sense that they're not looking to escalate. They're looking to show face with the public, and that's where we are at this moment right now. We're waiting to hear if we're going to hear from the president because it's we're being told he may address everybody. Obviously, if he does, we'll bring it live to you, and you can weigh in. And today's the day for you to weigh in. Are you happy about the missile strikes? Are you angry about the missile strikes? Do you feel like we're going to be dragged into another Middle Eastern war? Do you feel like war is going to be averted in the Middle East? A couple takeaways right off the bat, which is that J.D. Vance has said we will not have ground troops. This is not going to be a war. These were targeted strikes, and that's the end of it. Targeted strikes, that's it, and there's not going to be a war. Okay. The second thing to take away from all this is that, according to experts, the market right now, which is doing very, very well, the market doesn't think this is going to be a long, protracted war. So that's a good thing. And obviously, when the president said within 2 weeks, like I told you last week, it was not going to be 2 weeks. It was going to be within 2 weeks. And we said at the time that could be an hour, that could be 3 hours, that could be before the end of the show. And it didn't happen before the end of the show, but it happened Saturday night. Bumping, by the way, a lot of Saturday night programming, including Jimmy Fallon's Saturday night show, bumping my appearance on America's Newsroom today, even though I get all the way up there. It's all right. It's how it works. What are you going to do? I got bumped for the president of Israel. So, there's that. But everybody knew this was coming. Everybody anticipated this was coming. And here we are. So Iran now is basically, it doesn't really have much that it can do. You hear these baseless threats from Russia that they're going to supply Iran with nukes, but they're not going to do that. Because if they did that, then we would supply Ukraine with nukes, and that's not going to happen. You hear about Iran shutting off the Strait of Hormuz. If they do that, then they're just hurting themselves economically, not the United States of America economically. So they're going to hurt themselves in a big, big way. So they're probably not going to do that. But there's going to be a lot of talk, and there's going to be a lot of bluster. The president has said if a single American dies here in their retaliation, then they're gonna get an even bigger case of what they got the other night. And then there's the response on Capitol Hill, which obviously, if you're listening to the Democrats, this was illegal. It wasn't. I mean, the president notified Congress. He's empowered under the War Powers Act. He's empowered under the Constitution. Every president does this. I mean, they all do, including Obama. He did it like 500 times. I'm not saying that makes it right or wrong. I'm just saying they all do it. So to start screaming that the president has somehow violated the law, he hasn't, because both sides, both parties have done this, acted unilaterally, launched attacks on sites in the Middle East where they felt American forces could be at risk, didn't get an authorization from Congress. They justified it as they justify everything, and notify congressional leadership, and there you go. I think we're all hoping that this is the end of it. There's reports that Iran has sleeper cell agents in the United States that are going to act and start blowing everybody up. I doubt it, and I'm not really going to start losing sleep over that, and I don't think you should either. And I really don't want to see another excuse, not that I think this president would, but an excuse to start clamping down on civil liberties and more monitoring to keep us safe and, yada, yada, yada. So that's good. I also don't think Iran has much to work with in the way of retaliation, because for weeks, Israel was taking out their ballistic missiles, and we just destroyed all their nuclear, if they had a nuclear missile, if they were close to having a nuclear missile, if they had the ability to assemble it. Well, that's over. That's done. The reports that Iran moved their nuclear materials prior to the attack, I've heard those reports. Again, I doubt it, because I think that our intelligence indicated they had to move now before Iran could move the stuff, and Iran was going to move the stuff, and So that's the way, they probably was the reason why they struck Saturday night. So far, we've intercepted all the Iranian missiles over the military base in Qatar, and they were not successful in killing anybody or making any damage whatsoever. So that's where we are. And again, this is a day to hear from you. Let me know what you think. I've seen reactions all across the board. People are happy. People are angry. People are feeling like this is going to be the end of the Iranian nuclear threat. And there are people feeling like this is the beginning of what is going to be the United States getting involved into another long military conflict. So what do you think? I'd love to hear from you. 855-839-1210 is the number. You can weigh in. You can also tweet at Rich Zeoli. You can weigh in on our YouTube chat, where I'm sure everybody will be weighing in as well. And by the way, thank you for joining us in Cape May on Friday. We had a blast at the Grand Hotel. It was great. Huge crowd, probably one of our biggest to date, if not the biggest to date. We'll be back there August 15th. It's a Friday. That's if I can keep my sanity between now and August 15th, because this is just, it's an insane time. But assuming I can, we'll be back there August 15th for our next live show of the summer. And we kicked off a heat wave. So that's the other thing we're dealing with now. We're dealing with a heat dome. So different than the dome they were going to use to defend the United States from missile attacks. The dome we're dealing with right now is a heat dome. So there's that. I felt bad because my son was playing flag football. He had a flag football camp this morning, and those kids were out there. But it builds character, and nobody passed out, and that's good. You just got to load them up. You got to hydrate. That's what you got to do. You got to hydrate. Where do we stand right now in terms of the president's feeling towards Democrats who are not standing with him? And who are the Democrats that are standing with him? Well, you've got John Fetterman standing with the president. Josh Shapiro basically coming out and supporting the president. And that's really it. And those guys are supporting the president because, A, they understand that Pennsylvania, for the most part, is going to stand with the president on this. And B, they understand for the most part that probably the majority of the American people are going to support the president on this. These kind of things are very popular, politically speaking. If you are of the camp that wants not to see the United States intervene, then it's obviously not popular with you. I get it. I do. I understand. I've heard a lot of those concerns and a lot of those voices, and we'll certainly make space for them here today on the show. This is your place to weigh in and chat about all these things. And then the other thing too is that as we're talking about all this, we don't know what the next few hours are going to bring on all this, but one thing is clear, and what's clear is that Iran has to show face with the people. And the Pentagon is now saying they're not tracking any more Iranian attacks on bases at the moment, that they were successful in intercepting all of them. So that's great. That's good. That's excellent. Bravo there. I'm not surprised the president attacked Iran. I don't think you should be. I think we all kind of concluded on Friday that this was coming. We took a show of hands and we heard from the audience and everybody said, yeah, this is coming. So no surprise there in that sense. This was something he was going to do. Am I surprised at how quickly it happened? No, because again, when he said within 2 weeks, you kind of figured that within 2 weeks meant 2 hours or 2 days. It didn't mean 2 weeks. And anybody who would think that he would, because he always wants to be unpredictable, project out like that would be insane. This is also, by the way, the big story of the hour, the week, the day, brought to you by our buddy, Dr. Mike Veneria. VeneriaDental.com. Go see him today for your perfect smile. 2 locations to serve you, Cinnaminson and Woodbury. Emergency dental care as well. We had an emergency situation. A kid fell at a park. We were at a park on a Sunday. Kids were doing a lemonade stand. Kid fell, cracked his tooth. And I called up Dr. Mike right away, and he was able to talk to the family and help them out. So that's the kind of guy he is. He's just the absolute best. So go see him today. We have some great guests joining us on the show, including the GOAT of foreign policy analysis, Dr. Victoria Coates. She'll be here to talk about all of this with us. We're also going to talk to John Yoo, Professor John Yoo, constitutional professor, about the president's legal authority to do what he did. And we'll hear from the president, hopefully, at some point during the show today. I'd be shocked if he does not at some point come out and say something. I really would. I'd be amazed if he doesn't. We have a ton of audio too. audio from local reaction and from over the weekend when the president addressed everybody Saturday night, and also from the Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman who laid out the complete execution of Operation Midnight Hammer. Operation Midnight Hammer, which was a success, and the B-2 bombers flew back, and our buddy Wake Up NJ had video of them flying back over Wildwood, New Jersey. There's an old saying about those B-2s that if you see them, you're not the target. The stealth bombers, you're not the target. And people saw them as they were on the beach over the weekend. So how did this all play out? And, you know, I do not want to see the United States get involved here in a long war. I don't want to see boots on the ground. I don't want to see any of that. So my hope is that this is done. It's over. And we can get back to now focusing on the issues here in the United States of America that matter to everybody. I think there's two camps. One camp seems on the extremes. One camp seems to be jumping up and down and celebrating this. The other camp is outraged and, you know, Trump is dead to them. But I think rationally speaking, you had to know this was coming based on every indication that he gave. And number two, I think that if he were to get us involved into a long war, if boots were on the ground, if the United States got involved in regime change and actually trying to instill a new government in Iraq or Iran, excuse me, yeah, that would lose most of us. I mean, it would. Bottom line, there's just no stomach for that. There's no appetite for that. It's one thing to do strikes and take out Iran's nuclear facilities. It's another thing to get us down into Iraq 2.0. So let's hope to God that doesn't happen. We don't need that. Nobody wants that. There's no appetite for that, even among the American people. The support of the people to take out these nuclear sites is probably going to be pretty strong when the polls come back. But there's no way the support would be there for us getting involved in rebuilding another country in the Middle East, because we can't rebuild these countries, and you know that's the way it is. As far as the fact that this was carried out with zero leaks, amazing, absolutely amazing, that aspect of it. In this day and age, to not have anyone leak anything, probably good Hakeem Jeffries didn't answer his phone, because they notified Chuck Schumer and they notified Hakeem Jeffries, but Hakeem Jeffries didn't pick up. So it's probably a good thing he didn't pick up, because that guy probably has a mouth on him and probably would have leaked it. The fact that there were no leaks that came from inside the Pentagon or anybody in the Defense Department is amazing, and says a lot about the way that Pete Hegseth runs the Pentagon in this day and age. And also the fear that people know President Trump's not going to tolerate leaks, period. The other aspect of this, too, is that unlike the disastrous cluster F that was the withdrawal of Afghanistan, it was executed with precision. None of our guys were hurt. None of our planes were shot down. And the really fascinating part about this is when you hear about the decoy operation that was done was remarkable from an operational point of view, remarkable, and how they were able to use the decoys to throw the Iranians off their toes here. And why do we begin there, too? Because we've heard a lot from the president from what he said over the weekend. You probably have heard it by now. But you may not have heard the Joint Chiefs of Staff Chair Dan Kane laying out the complete execution of Operation Midnight Hammer. Held a news conference earlier, I believe it was either today or yesterday, with the defense secretary, laying out the details of how this came out and how this went out. So let's start with cut number 5, Justin, and go from there.
Launched from the continental United States. As part of a plan to maintain tactical surprise, part of the package proceeded to the west and into the Pacific as a decoy, a deception effort known only to an extremely small number of planners and key leaders here in Washington and in Tampa. The main strike package, comprised of 7 B-2 Spirit bombers, each with 2 crew members, proceeded quietly to the east with minimal communications. Throughout the 18-hour flight into the target area, the aircraft completed multiple in-flight refuelings. Once over land, the B-2s linked up with escort and support aircraft in a complex, tightly timed maneuver requiring exact synchronization across multiple platforms in a narrow piece of airspace, all done with minimal communications. This type of integration is exactly what our joint force does better than anyone else in the world.
He continued with the operation and what happened with this, the 3 nuclear sites in Iran. And by the way, the president is warning Russia that do not even attempt to move nuclear warheads to Iran. And the president said on social media, on Truth Social, did he really say that? The N word, nuclear? Surely this is just a figment of his imagination, right? He's not really going to do this. Here's part 2 of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, cut 6.
At approximately 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time last night, and just prior to the strike package entering Iran, a U.S. submarine in the Central Command Area of Responsibility launched more than 24 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles against key surface infrastructure targets at Isfahan. As the Operation Midnight Hammer strike package entered Iranian airspace, the U.S. employed several deception tactics, including decoys, as the 4th and 5th generation aircraft pushed out in front of the strike package at high altitude and high speed, sweeping in front of the package for enemy fighters and surface-to-air missile threats. The strike package was supported by U.S. Strategic Command, U.S. Transportation Command, U.S. Cyber Command, U.S. Space Command, U.S. Space Force, and U.S. European Command. As the strike package approached Fordo and Natanz, the U.S. protection package employed high-speed suppression weapons to ensure safe passage of the strike package, with fighter assets employing preemptive suppressing fires against any potential Iranian surface-to-air threats. We are currently unaware of any shots fired at the U.S. strike package on the way in. At approximately 6:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2:10 a.m. Iran time, the lead B-2 dropped 2 GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator weapons on the first of several aim points at Fordo.
So Putin is saying this is unprovoked aggression against Iran. He's threatening to do something. I don't really think he's going to do anything. Do you? I mean, he's bogged down in Ukraine. I can't imagine he's going to do anything. But, you know, it's the tough talk you'd expect, obviously. No surprise there.